I brought 1,000,000 yuan in cash into the mountains to buy honey. But just as we were getting ready to load the trucks, the beekeepers suddenly raised the price as a group. The price we'd already agreed on was completely off the table, and they even said they'd rather let the honey rot in the barrels than sell it to me. Boss Shu, the market price is already 80 a pound and you're only offering 30, that's basically robbery. I stared in confusion at this unfamiliar young man. The village chief quickly stepped in to explain. Boss Shu, this is Aunt Zong's son-in-law, Song Jie. He's a college student who understands economics, and today he'll be representing everyone in the negotiations. Looking around, I noticed the familiar beekeepers hiding behind Song Jie, avoiding eye contact. I immediately realized this wasn't going to be simple. The contract's already signed, and the price was locked in. What exactly is there left to discuss? Even so, I kept a smile on my face. We're short on time, let's load the trucks first, and after that we can sit down and talk. Hold on, Aunt Zhang suddenly rushed out of the crowd and spread her arms in front of the honey barrels. I want to see who dares touch my honey. Aunt Zhang, what do you mean by this? We signed a contract. It's all in writing. Delivery is today, and payment is cash on the spot. Are you really planning to break the agreement? At that moment, Song Jie let out a laugh. Don't try to scare me with that worthless piece of paper. Boss Shu, this is a market economy. Everything should follow market rules. Then he turned toward the beekeepers. Tell him what's honey selling for right now. Over 80 online. Some are even selling for over 100. One beekeeper pulled out his phone and showed screenshots of the prices. Song Jie turned back toward me. Hear that, Boss Shu? The price you're offering? Isn't exactly fair, is it? Even though I was angry, I patiently explained, Mr. Song. That's not how you calculate it. First, those are retail prices, not purchase prices. Second, business is built on honoring agreements. A month ago, when nobody wanted this honey, I was the one who guaranteed a minimum price. Back then, why weren't you talking about market economics and to help your village ship honey outside the mountains? I pointed at the road beneath our feet. I spent 200,000 yuan building this road, and those beehives were gifts from me too. If we're talking market economics, shouldn't those costs count as part of the equation? That was your choice. Nobody asked you to build the road. If you decided to spend that money, that's your sunk cost. What does that have to do with our honey price? I looked at Aunt Zhang in surprise. A month ago, she was a simple farmer who only knew how to say, "Thank you, boss." Now she was throwing around terms like sunk cost. I turned coldly toward Song Jie. You taught her that term, didn't you? I just helped the villagers learn some basic economics, so they don't get taken advantage of by dishonest businessmen and end up thanking the people cheating them. And Boss Shu, don't keep bringing up the road. Once it was built, your trucks benefited too. At the end of the day, it served your business as well. He waved his hand dismissively. Enough talking. At 30 yuan a pound, you're not taking a single pound of honey. If you want to load these trucks, you'll have to pay the current market rate. And what rate do you want? Out of respect for the road you built, we're not asking for 80. Song Jie held up 5 fingers in front of me. 50 yuan a pound, not a cent less. 50, the national purchase price for top-grade honey, is only 35 to 38. You're demanding 50, that's extortion. Call it whatever you want. The honey's in our hands. You've got 15 trucks sitting here. If they leave empty, you'll lose tens of thousands just on transportation. Then there's the penalty for breach of contract. Actually, this contract itself might be considered unfair. If this ends up in court, we might not even lose. He leaned closer and lowered his voice. Boss Shu, you'll repackage this honey and sell it for 120 anyway. Let us have a little share of the profit. That's not unreasonable, is it? Don't be too greedy, otherwise you'll choke on it. I stared at Song Jie's calculating face, then looked at village chief Lin Daishan. Chief Lin, is this what you think too? Boss Shu, everyone's struggling, and the market price really has gone up. Just consider it a good deed. 51 a pound only means you make a little less? A little less? I had actually prepared to pay 38 yuan. That was my way of helping them through the cold season. It was my goodwill. But now, facing people who treated my kindness as weakness and my effort as something they deserved, my goodwill felt completely wasted on a pack of ingrates. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. But in the end, I held myself back. I'm a businessman. I calculate more than just money. I calculate emotions too. If I walked away now, this batch of honey really would be a loss. So I took a deep breath and pulled the contract from my suit pocket. 50 is absolutely impossible. But considering the impact the cold season has had on everyone, I'm willing to compromise. Song Ji's eyes lit up. He thought I was backing down. I'm not unreasonable. 38 yuan a pound. That's the highest price I can offer. The extra 8 yuan is my way of making friends. I paused. We load the trucks now, and payment is made in cash. At that time, 38 yuan was already the highest purchase price on the market. I thought I'd given them more than enough room to step down gracefully. Anyone with a little common sense should have accepted it. But I underestimated human greed. 38? Are you kidding? Song Jie already told us this. Honey's worth 80. You're only giving us 38? That's way too low. Boss Shu, are you playing games with us? 50, not 1 cent less. If you're not serious, then leave. We'll keep the honey and sell it ourselves through live streams. When we sell it for 100, don't come crying later. Yeah, we'll sell it ourselves. Get out of our honey village, you black-hearted businessman. The beekeepers became more and more worked up, and some even started shoving my drivers. Looking at their twisted expressions, I suddenly felt the cash sitting in my trunk was ridiculous in the past, because the mountain roads were so difficult to travel. The local honey barely sold year after year. Sometimes it couldn't even fetch 15 yuan a pound. After learning about their situation, I paid out of my own pocket to build roads, offered 30 yuan a pound, and promised to pay the same rate whether the honey was top grade or slightly lower quality. Knowing the challenges of transportation and preservation, I specially ordered food-grade high-density storage containers and hundreds of new units equipped with temperature monitoring. I had them delivered to the village ahead of time and gave them away for free. Then a rare cold wave hit the country. Honey-producing regions in the north suffered major losses, while several major southern regions saw production cut in half because of non-stop rain. But because of Honey Village's unique location, nestled between two mountains and a valley, it formed its own microclimate. The surrounding mountains blocked the cold air. Not only were the local bee farms unaffected, but with less rain, the nectar concentration was actually higher. By then, market prices had already climbed to 35 yuan a pound, so I made a decision to raise my offer. I instructed finance to prepare cash based on 38 yuan a pound. Boss Shu, doesn't the contract say 30? If we raise the price now, we'll lose hundreds of thousands in profit. Think long term. This is how you earn loyalty. Let them know they won't lose money working with Boss Shu. I thought sincerity could earn sincerity in return. It turns out I was wrong. Fine, then sell it yourselves. I nodded, slowly folded the contract, slipped it back into my pocket, and turned toward all the drivers. The anger was gone from my face. What remained was a calmness that made people uneasy. Everyone, get in the trucks, turn around and head back to the city. Old Chen froze for a second, nearly dropping the radio in his hand. Boss Shu, we're really leaving. We've already burned a lot of fuel getting 15 trucks out here. Maybe we can negotiate a little more, even 40 would work. This honey really is good stuff. The moment we haul it back, it turns into cash. No more negotiations, Old Chen. Remember this. In business, if you lose money, you can earn it back. But if someone stands on your neck and humiliates you while you smile through it, you'll never be able to hold your head high again. Carry out the order, everyone. Pack up and head back to the city. Everything went exactly as everyone expected. They thought I'd beg, bargain, and eventually give in to that ridiculous 50 yuan price like a snake with its weak spot exposed. After all, who would willingly let hundreds of thousands spent on road construction go to waste? Song Jie suddenly snapped and stormed over, pointing at my nose. Shu Guiyuan, if you leave today, then don't ever come back begging us in the future. We still won't sell to you. I stopped, turned around and looked at him like he was nothing more than a clown putting on a show. Everyone, remember what you said today? Ask yourselves carefully. Is it me being unjust, or you being unfaithful? Heaven is watching. Stop trying to scare people with heaven. We're just protecting our rights. You're the one being greedy. Fine. Since you all think live streaming can sell this honey for 100, then I wish you great success. This kind of fortune is more than I can handle. You can enjoy it yourselves. With that, I got into my vehicle, without looking back. The moment our convoy disappeared beyond the mountain pass, Honey Village erupted in celebration. As soon as I left, Song Jie jumped onto a large millstone at the village entrance. Everyone, see that? That's the true face of a capitalist. He backed down because he knows he can't make money off our hard work anymore. We won, Song Jie shouted. You're amazing, Song Jie. Even a big boss got scared off by you. Exactly. Our honey is this good, why should we sell cheap? Let's do what Song Jie said and live stream it. Not 80, 100 a pound. That afternoon, Honey Village felt like it was celebrating a holiday. They were completely caught up in the excitement of defeating capitalism, never realizing they had just cut off the only bridge connecting their isolated mountain village to modern commerce. They thought they had driven away a blood-sucking wolf, but what they actually drove away was the only person willing to help them during a snowstorm. Back at the company, I instructed the finance department to deposit the 1 million yuan back into the bank. Boss, the 20,000 for the road, the cold chain deposits, the packaging costs, we're looking at nearly 400,000 total. How are we going to recover that? Treat it as tuition. Then I added, notify the legal department, prepare breach of contract lawsuits against every farmer who signed. We probably won't recover the money, but I do want them to leave a very memorable mark on their credit records. Understood. And what about the honey shortage? Contact the base in Yuncheng. The price is higher, but they have enough supply. Making a little less money is fine. Losing our reputation isn't. After handling everything, I opened my phone and saw that Song Ji had created an account on a short video platform called Honey. When I entered the live stream, there were already 200 to 300 viewers watching. Song Jie was standing in Aunt Zong's yard with dozens of the blue barrels I had originally given them, stacked behind him. The lighting was poor, and the video quality was blurry. Wearing that oversized suit, Song Jie shouted excitedly into the camera. Family, look at this. Pure natural mountain honey with zero pollution. Today Brother Jie is giving everyone a special deal, not 998, not 198, just 88 yuan a pound with free nationwide shipping. He held up a sampling spoon. I had originally customized for quality inspections and lifted a spoonful of honey toward the camera to show the texture. Look at that color, look at how it stretches. Anyone who knows quality honey, type want some in the chat. Behind him, Aunt Zheng and several older women stood awkwardly smiling as background props, holding crooked pieces of cardboard that simply said, all natural. I glanced at the comments section. 88? That's expensive. Honey at the supermarket is only 40. You don't know anything. That's mountain honey. The supermarket stuff is sugar water. Do you have a food business license? Do you have an SC certification? What courier are you using? What kind of packaging? We're farmers selling our own products. The government supports this. We don't need all those complicated certificates, and we ship nationwide with guaranteed safety. Seeing that, I closed the live stream and laughed coldly. Their ignorance was astonishing. They thought selling online was as simple as talking into a phone and waiting for money to arrive. What they didn't understand was how expensive trust becomes when you don't have a brand behind you. They also didn't realize how high the breakage rate is when shipping liquid products like honey. Without professional shock-absorbing packaging and custom foam containers, 5 out of every 10 bottles could arrive damaged. The most dangerous issue was food licensing. Small-scale self-produced products may be allowed under certain policies, but once they enter a platform marketplace and attract professional consumer rights activists, it can become a complete disaster. On top of that, Songjae priced the honey at 88 yuan. At that price point, customers expect premium packaging, service, and logistics. They were trying to sell luxury-priced honey using the most basic plastic bottles. It was completely unrealistic. Sure enough, problems appeared almost immediately. On the first day, thanks to the college graduate returns to his hometown story and support from friends, they managed to sell several hundred orders. Aunt Zhang and the others were thrilled. That same night, they started filling old water bottles with honey. Then they stuffed them into cardboard boxes with some newspaper and shipped them out. Shipping alone cost 12 yuan per order. The huge profits Songjae had promised shrank quickly once shipping and packaging costs were deducted. Still, even after those expenses, they were making more than 70 yuan a pound, far higher than my 38 yuan offer. The villagers became increasingly confident. They even started mocking me, but the good times didn't last. A few days later, the first shipments reached customers, and the disaster began. Song-jae, what's going on? This phone hasn't stopped ringing. Song-ji was lying on a heated bed dreaming about getting rich. Irritated, he grabbed the phone and immediately turned pale. The screen was filled with refund requests and negative reviews. Some customers complained about poor packaging and leaking honey. Others questioned the honey's quality. Some even threatened to report them. Panicking, Song-jae tried explaining. The leaks were just shipping accidents. Real mountain honey naturally has a slight sour taste. But nobody cared about his explanations. The platform stepped in, because the complaint rate was too high, and they couldn't provide proper food distribution certifications. Song-jae's account was permanently suspended, and the deposit was frozen. Even worse, customers whose packages arrived damaged demanded not only refunds but compensation for stained clothing and damaged floors. Within just 1 week, more than 90% of the 300 orders were returned. The remaining 10% only stayed because customers didn't want the hassle of returning them, but they still left negative reviews. Looking at the sticky returned packages piled around her house, and the bright red account freeze notice on her phone, Aunt Zhang collapsed onto the ground and started crying. Oh heaven, what are we supposed to do now? We've already spent thousands on shipping and haven't earned a single cent. Now we have to pay people back too. This doesn't make any sense. That's not what they said online. Song-jae sat in the corner drenched in sweat, no longer looking like the confident leader who once stood on the millstone giving speeches. The worst part was that they had used unsanitary containers for repackaging. As temperatures began rising, the high-quality honey slowly started fermenting inside the plastic barrels because it hadn't been professionally sealed or sterilized. The sweet floral aroma in the air gradually mixed with a sour, fermented smell. Once the live stream account was banned, it felt like a bucket of cold water had completely extinguished Honey Village's excitement. In the village committee courtyard, surrounded by anxious beekeepers holding return ladles, Song-jae still refused to admit defeat. Everyone, calm down. The platform only banned us because they're jealous of our traffic. If one door closes, another opens. We'll just find other buyers. This is top-quality mountain honey. Once word gets out, plenty of bosses will fight over it. Song-jae, are you sure? We've already spent thousands on shipping. We can't afford another mistake. Don't worry, uncle. I'll make some calls right now. Song-jae pulled out his phone and began dialing numbers from agricultural purchasing companies he found online, right in front of the entire village. What he didn't know was that the day after leaving Honey Village, I had already explained exactly what happened in the Provincial Agricultural Industry Association group in supply chains. Nothing scares buyers more than dishonest suppliers. As a result, every call Song-jae made received almost the same response. Hello, Mr. Wang. I have a batch of premium mountain honey from Honey Village. Honey Village? The one from Lin Dashan's village? Yes, that's right, you know about it. Of course, that's the batch Boss Shu refused to take, isn't it? You've got some nerve breaking your word with Boss Shu. I don't want that kind of trouble. I'm still hoping to work with Boss Shu myself. Song-jae's expression changed. He forced a smile and called another buyer. Manager Liu, I heard you're purchasing honey in large quantities. We have 30,000 pounds available. What's the price? Market price is 80, but we'll give you a deal at 60. 60, did you just wake up? Boss Shu offered 38, and you refused. Now you want me to clean up the mess? The most I'll pay is 20. 20, that's robbery. Then keep it and drink it yourselves. Song-jae made more than a dozen calls. Some buyers hung up immediately. Others mocked him the moment they heard the words Honey Village. Some openly called them troublemakers. The most brutal response came from a buyer who specialized in lower-grade honey for animal feed additives. He laughed loudly over the phone. I heard you chased Boss Shu away. Nicely done, but your honey has a terrible reputation now. I'll buy it for 10 yuan a pound. I don't care that you're unreliable. I make pig feed anyway. Song-jae immediately hung up. A deathly silence settled over the entire courtyard. Then the shouting began. Song-jae, is this what you meant by buyers fighting over it? You useless fool, you're going to ruin the whole village. This isn't my fault. Shu Yuan must be behind this. He's blacklisting us. Boss Shu offered 30, and you refused because you wanted 80. Look where that got us. What about my shipping costs? I spent 500 yuan and haven't seen a penny back, and I lost 2 barrels of honey trying to repackage them. The villagers completely lost control. The college student they once praised had now become everyone's target. Song Ji was shoved around from every direction. His once neatly styled hair looked like a bird's nest. Sitting in my office, listening to the recording sent by one of my contacts, I slowly curled the corner of my mouth into a cold smile. This was what it meant to cut off your own escape route. In business, there are rules. When you chase short-term profit and break those rules, those same rules will eventually crush you without mercy. I didn't need to blacklist them. All I had to do was tell the truth. The system built on trust would naturally reject them on its own. But this wasn't even the worst part for Honey Village. If the honey simply couldn't be sold, they could always lower the price or keep it for themselves. Yet it seemed like fate believed their lesson wasn't severe enough. Over the next few days, temperatures in the mountains rose unexpectedly. By midday, it was over 20 degrees Celsius. For honey, that was dangerous. The honey itself was high quality. But during the live streams, they repeatedly opened and handled the barrels for demonstrations. When repackaging orders, they used unsterilized equipment. To make things easier, they didn't even use the professional airtight lids I had given them. Instead, they loosely covered the barrels with sheets of plastic. One morning, the moment Aunt Zhang stepped into the yard, she noticed a strange smell. It wasn't the scent of flowers. It was sour, almost like fermented alcohol. She immediately rushed over and pulled back the plastic covering one of the barrels. The honey that had once been clear, golden, and perfectly still. The sealed surface that had once been perfectly still was now covered in tiny white bubbles. More kept rising to the top with a constant gurgling sound. A strong sour smell hit Aunt Zhang so hard, she nearly fell over. Honey, honey, come quick. Before long, the entire village was in chaos. It wasn't just her house. Almost every family's honey had gone bad. The beekeeper stood there helplessly, staring at their foaming honey as it slowly turned into sour liquid. Lin Dashon looked at the swollen plastic barrels in his yard, puffed up like balloons, and collapsed onto the ground. He grabbed a handful of the fermented honey and stuffed it into his mouth, only to spit it out immediately. It's over. It's all over. The honey fermented. Now forget 38. Even if we paid people to haul it away, they'd think it takes up too much space. The original 30,000 pounds of liquid gold, Haid, turned into 30,000 pounds of liquid waste that needed to be disposed of. While the entire village was crying over barrels of sour honey, Song Jae was quietly packing a bag and preparing to slip away. For the past few days, he'd been hiding at his mother-in-law's house, too afraid to show his face. He knew that if he didn't leave now, he might get beaten to death. But before he could get far, several beekeepers who had been watching him blocked the village entrance. You think you're escaping with your market theory nonsense? No chance. Sell this sour honey for us. If you can't sell it, you're not leaving this village today. Uncles, please, this is a natural disaster. It was beyond anyone's control. I didn't know the weather would get hot. I didn't know the honey would spoil. You didn't know? Boss Shu brought refrigerated trucks and you chased him away. Boss Shu gave us professional honey containers and you convinced us to open them for live streams. Pay me back, pay me back for everything. That was 60,000 yuan. That was my kid's school money. Now it's all turned into sour water. Give me my money back. Standing outside the crowd, Lin Daishan watched the scene unfold. The tobacco pipe in his hand had already snapped in two. Looking at the mess scattered across the ground, he suddenly remembered the look in my eyes when I left. It wasn't anger. It was pity. What a sin. Boss Shu offered 38. How did I let greed cloud my judgment? That was money being handed to us. Now the money's gone. The road is useless. Our reputation is ruined. And even family relationships have fallen apart. At that moment, the entire village was filled with a nauseating sour smell. It was the scent of fermented honey and greed. Meanwhile, 100 kilometers away in the city, I was sitting in an upscale restaurant. Across from me sat a new business partner from Yuncheng. My phone vibrated. A contact had sent me a video. In the footage, the villagers were gathered around the pile of spoiled honey. I glanced at it, expressionless, then turned off the screen. What's wrong, Boss Shu? Nothing. Just watched a comedy that wasn't very funny. But the story wasn't over yet. People only remember the road they abandoned after they've run out of options. I knew they were thinking about it now. I knew they were wondering how long it would take before they came looking for me. The answer arrived quickly. One morning after finishing a company meeting, I was heading back to my office when the receptionist rushed in, looking panicked. Boss, there's trouble downstairs. Trouble? Where's security? They can't stop them. There are too many people. More than 20 of them brought banners, and some are kneeling outside, saying, "They're your fellow villagers, and they've come to apologize." I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked down at the plaza outside the company building. A group of poorly dressed villagers stood crowded around the revolving doors. Song Ji, who once acted so arrogant, was now being held up by two people with his head hanging low. Aunt Zhang was kneeling in front, bowing repeatedly to the security guards. The banner they brought was covered in crooked red characters. It read, "We apologize to Boss Shu. Please save Honey Village." I couldn't help laughing. The irony was unbelievable. A month ago they called me a bloodsucker and a greedy businessman. They demanded I leave the village forever. Now they'd traveled hundreds of kilometers to kneel outside my company and beg me to be their savior. Boss, should we call the police? No. Let them wait downstairs. Leave them there for an hour. For the people outside, that hour probably felt longer than a century. The head of security later came upstairs to update me. Aunt Zong passed out twice from crying. Lin Dashan has been slapping himself in the face, and that Song Jae kid is being forced by the angry villagers to kneel in front. His face is covered in bruises. Looks like he got beaten up before they came here. An hour later, I walked out of the building with my secretary and several executives. The honey barrels they had brought weren't sealed properly, and during the trip, some of the gas escaped. The sour fermented smell spread through the bright and polished business plaza. Office workers passing by covered their noses and avoided them like they were carrying a disease. What had once been their prized liquid gold had now become a symbol of humiliation they couldn't hide from. The moment they saw me appear, the noisy crowd went silent for a second before breaking into desperate cries. Boss Shu, Boss Shu, Boss Shu, thank goodness you're here. Boss Shu, we were wrong. We're terrible people. Please save us. Boss Shu, our entire year depends on this. Boss Shu, I'm begging you. I was blinded by greed. I listened to Song Jae. Aunt Zhang scrambled to her feet and tried to rush toward me, only to be stopped by two large security guards, crying hysterically. She slammed her forehead against the granite pavement over and over. Lin Dashan slowly stepped forward holding a wrinkled contract stained with dirt. It was the very same contract they had once treated as worthless paper. Boss Shu, we want to follow the contract now. 30 yuan is fine. No, 20 is fine. Just take the honey and leave us some way to survive. Meanwhile, Song Ji hid at the back of the crowd, like a frightened animal. The confidence he once had while lecturing everyone was completely gone. I looked down at them from above. Their faces were red from the cold wind. Their eyes were filled with fear, humility, and desperation. It was impossible to connect these people with the greedy, arrogant faces I had seen a month earlier. But I remembered clearly. I remembered Song Jae saying only poor fools would sell for 30. I remembered Aunt Zhang saying contracts didn't matter. I remembered Lin Dashan saying everyone had their own difficulties. Village Chief Lin, now you remember the contract? When I brought the trucks to your village, didn't you call it a worthless piece of paper? Lin Dashan's face turned dark red. He held the contract awkwardly in midair, unable to move forward or backward. Boss Shu, every mistake was ours. It was all Song Jae. He told us we could sell for 80. He spread those ideas. Boss Shu, we even brought him here for you to deal with. Boss Shu, I was wrong. I was ignorant. I didn't understand the law. Please forgive me. Song Jae lay on the ground, trembling as he begged through tears. Watching the entire scene, all I felt was disgust. Enough. Stop acting. You don't hate Song Jae because he lied to you. You hate him because he didn't make you rich. If you had really sold that honey for 80, would you be kicking him now? No, you would have carried him on your shoulders and laughed at me together. You would have called Shu Guiyan an idiot. The crowd instantly fell silent, exposed so directly, the beekeepers lowered their heads in shame. I slowly walked down and stopped beside the barrel of honey Aunt Zhang had brought. It was the same blue plastic barrel I had paid for. The outside was filthy, and sticky liquid was leaking around the lid. Before I even opened it, the sharp, sour smell hit me in the face. This is the sincerity you brought me. Smell it? That's vinegar, not honey. Boss, it's spoiled a little, but it's still edible. Maybe it can be processed somehow. Processed? I sell premium food products, not garbage. The yeast levels in this honey are thousands of times over the limit. Pouring it down a drain might be an environmental issue, and you expect me to buy it? We'll lower the price. 10 yuan is enough. Just, let us recover a little of our cost. Village Chief, you're still not understanding. This was never about money. I spent 200,000 building roads. I spent over 100,000 on beekeeping equipment. I brought 1 million yuan in cash and 15 trucks to your village. I raised my offer to 38 yuan. That was my sincerity. That was my trust. But you took that trust, threw it on the ground, stepped on it, and spat on it. Now that trust is broken, and it can't be put back together. Even if this honey were the finest treasure in the world, I still wouldn't buy it, because the name Honey Village is already ruined in my eyes, and in the agricultural industry. Boss Shu, you can't just leave us to die. You built that road. You can't abandon us now. Yes, I built the road. I built it, because I wanted opportunity to enter your village and help you prosper. What I didn't expect was that once the road was finished, opportunity never made it in. Instead, it let the greed inside your hearts come out. That road can stay there for you to use. Whether you can walk your way out of this mess is up to you. With that, I stopped looking at them and turned toward the building. Behind me came a wave of desperate crying. Security formed a wall and held them back. I never slowed my pace. Not even once. I knew I seemed cold-hearted in that moment. But I also knew that showing mercy to people who break trust is cruelty toward those who keep it. Back in my office, I stood in front of the massive window and watched them disappear from sight, like defeated strays, carrying their truckloads of sour honey and regret. On my desk sat a fresh cup of honey water made with new honey from the Yunnan base. The color was golden, and the aroma was rich. I lifted the cup and took a sip. It was sweet. That was the taste of honoring an agreement. As for the people of Honey Village, they were destined to spend the rest of their lives swallowing the bitter consequences they had brewed with their own hands. A taste more poisonous than arsenic, and more bitter than any medicine.